Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are joining us from today. Hope everybody's having a fantastic Thursday and week so far. I want to welcome everybody, and just to make sure that everybody can see and hear us, please find the chat and let us know where you are joining us from today. Maybe you'll find somebody from your community who also uses SEO ranking, and you'll be able to connect that way. While you are doing that, let me just tell you about a really awesome webinar that we have planned for you guys today. We're going to be diving into that in just a couple of moments. But in case this is the first time you're joining one of our digital events, welcome. We at SEO Ranking hold our webinars, roundtables, workshops, and onboarding days to share some insightful and actionable information with the SEO community, help you make the most of our tools, and hopefully give you some takeaways that will help you increase the traffic to your website. The topic for today's webinar is double EAT for auto dealers, how to show Google you're the go-to auto expert. Let me switch over the slide. All right, now I can see in the chat that we are joined from people from Toronto, from Paris. All right, that means that people can see and hear us. All right, great. From Lisbon, great. Yeah, so let me do the slides and tell you that my name is Andrew Zaruni, and I'm part of the marketing team over at SEO Ranking, and I'll be the host of today's event. And today we are joined by Adam Heitzman, who is the co-founder and managing partner at Higher Visibility, an award-winning digital marketing agency known for its data-driven SEO and tailored growth strategies. Adam has over 2 decades of experience, and he has helped hundreds of businesses grow revenue through innovative search and content marketing techniques. Thank you for making the time to be here, Adam.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Great. Let me do a couple of more slides before we get to the main part of today's event, to the main course. I want to say a couple of words about SEO Ranking in case people are here who have not used it enough or just don't know about us. We provide powerful data-rich tools designed for digital agencies and SEO professionals working in teams. Thanks to all the user feedback that we've been getting over the years, we've built up our platform based on what actual professionals need. And to back up this claim, you can see all the different recognition that we received most recently up on the screen. We also know, let me do the other slide. We also know that over the past decade, we have grown our toolkit to over 30 tools that include all sorts of tasks in digital marketing, from website audits to content creation, from backlink analysis to rank tracking. And we're also integrating a couple of AI tools. So I'll be really happy to tell you more about them during our workshops. But this is a webinar today with a specific topic. And we also know that accuracy it's what it's all about in the world of SEO. Is if you don't have accurate data, it's useless. And we do our best to refine our algorithms, data sets, and formulas just to make sure that you're getting the most accurate data we can provide. Like I said earlier, SEO Ranking is designed for digital agencies and SEO professionals working in teams. So we do our best to have everything you need for that collaborative aspect of work. So you can work with multiple clients and a lot of different team members, share data and stuff like that. Okay, that is what I wanted to share about SEO Ranking. Thanks for staying with us this far. Yeah, let's not get to the Q&A. And let me do a couple of more intros, things just to make sure that everybody's on board with today's presentation. So Adam will be giving us a presentation that will last about 35 to 40 minutes. And you're welcome to throw your questions into the chat, but we will get to them during the dedicated Q&A after Adam has finished his presentation. But in the meantime, just sit back, relax. We will send you the replay. We will send you the slides. All you have to do is soak it all in and ask us questions, because that's what this is today's event about. We want to help you understand how to become the go-to auto dealer in your niche to Google. So without further ado, I'm going to give the floor to Adam, and I'll be keeping my eye on the chat just to remind everybody to throw your questions into the chat as we're doing the presentation, and we'll get to the Q&A later on. All right, Adam, thank you for sticking around during the intro. And I'm looking forward to you sharing us how we can manage properly Google's EAT guidelines for auto dealers.
Great. Well, welcome everyone. I appreciate you taking the time today to join today's webinar. A big thank you to SEO Ranking for hosting this session and for being such a valuable resource in the SEO community. I know how competitive the auto dealership industry is, especially online. My goal today is to give you a clear understanding of how EAT, so experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust, can help you stand out, rank better, and attract more customers. A little about me. Before I hop into that, I'm Adam Heitzman, as referenced before, co-founder and managing partner of Higher Visibility. We've helped auto dealers and many other verticals and businesses across industries improve their online presence for the last 18 years. By the end of this session, you're going to walk away with some real actionable strategies to enhance your website's credibility, optimize your content for Google's expectations, and hopefully boost your rankings. So let's dive right on in. Now, before we get to the strategies, you might be wondering, why should I even listen to me? Fair question. I've been in SEO and digital marketing for nearly 2 decades, and over the years, my team and I have worked with numerous auto dealerships, helping them significantly increase their rankings and leads. I've also contributed to industry-leading platforms like Search Engine Land, Search Engine Ranking, and our agency has won multiple awards for SEO excellence. Just this past year, we were lucky enough to be awarded the 2024 Best Large SEO Agency through the Search Engine Land Awards. So to put it simply, we've seen firsthand what works and what doesn't. And today, I want to share these insights with you so that you can take control of your dealership's online success. Also, here's some of my socials, so please feel free to follow me. I share a lot of tips, information, how-tos particularly on LinkedIn. So let's talk about EAT and why it's so important for auto dealers. So if you've been in digital marketing for any time, you know SEO is incredibly competitive. Everyone's going after the same high intent keywords, like maybe best SUVs in 2025 and a buy car near me. But ranking for these terms isn't just about keywords anymore. It's about trust and credibility. So when you think about it, car buyers spend an average of over 14 hours researching online before stepping into a dealership. And this is based off a study recently by Cox Automotive. And so if Google isn't seeing your site as a trusted, credible source of information, they won't be able to send traffic your way, or they won't at all. So Google's evolved a lot. It's no longer just about stuffing keywords. It's about proving that you're a reliable, experienced source. And that's what EAT helps you do. So you might be wondering, how does Google determine trust and credibility? Well, they have these search quality rater guidelines. It's a document used by real people that Google hires, third-party individuals that have to go through an extensive process to apply and go through testing. And these individuals, they're called search quality raters. They manually review web pages and assess quality. And it's a publicly visible document. Actual, you can click here and you can just see this is the document. It's publicly accessible. Anybody can find it. I've actually provided a link to it right directly here. The terminology EAT is actually mentioned over 121 times in this document, which tells you just how important this concept is. So now these guidelines don't directly affect rankings, but they shape how Google's algorithm evaluates sites. So if we understand what Google considers high quality content, we can align our websites with those standards and theoretically improve our rankings. So think of EAT like your business's online reputation. The stronger it is, the more trust you gain from both Google and potential customers. So let's break down what EAT actually stands for, EEAT. So experience. Are you actually selling, servicing, or reviewing vehicles? Does your content reflect hands-on knowledge? Expertise. Are you or your staff credible experts in the industry? Do your blog posts, service pages, FAQs showcase deep industry knowledge? From an authority standpoint, do others recognize your dealership as a reliable source? Do you have backlinks from industry leaders, manufacturer sites, or even media mentions? Trust. This is critical. Google needs to see your website as a safe and reliable source. That means clear contact info, transparent pricing, that your website's secure, and it has real customer reviews. And so when you combine all of these elements and all these elements are strong, Google can see that your dealership is a trusted business, and that's what helps you perform better in search. Along the same lines as the search quality rater guidelines, there are also the helpful content guidelines. And again, this is also publicly accessible. You can actually see the URL up here. I've provided it in the slide deck, and so you'll have a link directly to that as well. And it tells you exactly how to self-assess your content, questions that you could be asking, expertise questions that you should be asking about focusing on people first content and what to avoid. So there's a lot of details in here. And actually within inside of this resource, it actually links to the search quality rater guidelines as well. So again, a lot of this information is publicly accessible. It's now using the information that Google's telling you is important and leveraging it towards your website and your strategies. So the Google search quality rater guidelines outlines what makes a high quality website versus a low quality website based on credibility, expertise, and trustworthiness. These guidelines can help shape how Google evaluates sites. So aligning them can improve your rankings and customer trust. So here's how Google distinguishes between high quality and low quality dealership websites. So some of the characteristics of a high quality site would be clear authorship and credentials. Google wants to know who's providing information and whether they have relevant expertise. Trusted sources and external validation, citations from manufacturers, media mentions, and backlinks from reputable sites all help further establish that credibility. Original, experience-driven content. So like firsthand insights, like maybe test drive reviews, service tips, customer stories. Those all signal real-world expertise that Google values. And I understand that particularly as it relates to dealerships, a lot of the information sometimes is provided directly from the manufacturer. And I understand that you have to specifically reference some of that information. So what you really want to do is make sure that you're taking that and then adding some of that original firsthand experience to some of these pages where applicable. Some of the low quality characteristics that we're talking about are where there's no identifiable author or expertise. So if a site lacks author bios or industry credentials, Google can see it as less trustworthy. Generic content with no unique insights. Like I just mentioned, just providing and simply only using manufacturer content that every other dealership uses isn't going to necessarily make you be viewed as an authority simply because you have the same content as hundreds or maybe even thousands of other websites out there. So thin, recycled content that doesn't offer a new, fresh perspective provides, little value to the searchers. Poor website security and weak trust signals. So lack of HTTPS, a secure website, missing contact information, or unclear business details can hurt both rankings and customer confidence. So Google's guidelines give us that blueprint for building a more authoritative site. So the more you align with high quality content standards, the stronger your SEO and customer engagement will be. So I'm going to go through each of the different sectors or metrics and kind of speak a little bit individually about each one. So experience. Google wants to see real firsthand experience in your content. That means showcasing customer testimonials, maybe test drive videos, real world service insights. So think of like customer success stories, maybe featuring real buyers with testimonials about their purchasing experience. Before and after service examples. So showcasing an auto repair or detailing transformation with images. Test drive reviews, like a salesperson or customer detailing their firsthand experience with a vehicle. And then maybe something like behind the scenes content, like a walkthrough of how your service team handles repairs or inspections or whatever that might be, right? Every dealership is going to have their own unique elements to this. And so the more that you can tie that in, the more that you can kind of set yourself apart and really show that firsthand experience. Think about it like this too. If you're writing a blog post around the best SUVs for families, don't just list features. Explain what your dealership has seen in customer feedback or from real test drives. Firsthand content will perform better and will build trust. So expertise. So how do you prove it, right? Google evaluates who is providing information. Your dealership staff, whether sales reps, service advisors, or finance experts, are your best sources of expertise. So make sure your content, your blog posts have bylines. Ideally, if it's a blog post or informational guide, it would have author bios, and then you'd accompany that with credentials. What makes this person a trusted resource, right? Why are they an expert in this particular field to be able to speak to this? This helps Google and customers really trust your information. Authority, all right? Building authority can take time, but it's worth it in the long run. The more recognized your dealership is, the more Google will trust your site. You can earn authority by getting media mentions, so like through traditional PR, backlinks from trusted sources, and engaging on social platforms. The premise here is, how do you get people to speak, to talk about you, to talk about your brand? You can do that through content. You can do that through a variety of different ways. And so a dealership may be featured in a local blog will always, or typically those that don't have that authority. So this is always a key component to really kind of hone in and focus in on. In this particular example, you can see I took a screenshot from a dealership that is referencing some of the charities they sponsor, right? And these charities are actually linking back to this particular dealership. So that's a great way of building a cohesive relationship where it helps build that authority there too. So when we're thinking about EAT, I wanted to provide 7 specific ways that we could strengthen that over time. Now, keep this in mind. EAT is an ongoing process. It's not a one-time fix. You can't just add a few things, trust signals to your website, and expect long-term success. So you need to continuously refine and enhance your credibility. Here's 7 proven ways that we can kind of do that, right? So first, continuously update and refresh content for accuracy. Google rewards content that is regularly improved and remains relevant. Outdated content can signal a lack of credibility. Engaging in PR to boost authority, right? So being mentioned in industry blogs and news articles strengthens your reputation as an expert. Encouraging more customer reviews and testimonials. If you don't have a process to build that out, that would be something I'd really focus in on. How do you, when someone purchases a vehicle with you, how do you ultimately get that individual to come back and then leave that positive review? So positive reviews can signal trustworthiness and customer satisfactions, which also helps improve search rankings. Regularly auditing the website as it relates to like trust signals and improve where necessary. So like ensure your business details, security measures, and content transparency remain up to date. Establishing a clear content strategy that prioritizes people first content. So avoid creating content that's solely for SEO purposes. Focus on real value for users, and that will ultimately help you on the SEO side of things. Investing in expert-driven content. So making sure your site features content written by or reviewed by professionals in the automotive industry to strengthen credibility. Leveraging multimedia formats to showcase expertise, like video walkthroughs, in-depth guides, maybe interactive elements to make your content even more authoritative and engaging. These are all different strategies that your dealership could use to build a stronger foundation of trust to help you rank higher and attract more customers. Now, I've talked a lot about all these different concepts, but now what I want to provide is I want to provide you actionable things, something that you can actually use to then take something and run with it, right? So I want to make this as actionable as possible for you, which is why I've created an EEAT checklist that you can use to audit your existing site. You're going to get a Google Sheets link, which I've added to this deck. I will also share it. It will be shared after the presentation's over. Also, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or on X, I'd be happy to share a direct link to the checklist there as well. But it is listed here. It might be hard to see it right now. But I will, like I said, I will share that here in a few minutes, and I'll share it here in the comments as soon as I'm done here. But what I want to do is I want to talk you through of maybe how to go about using it. So here is the checklist, and you're going to notice there's multiple tabs here at the bottom. So essentially what we're going to do is go into each subsection. So you can customize this. I just threw our agency domain in here for now. And it's a pretty detailed checklist. I've already pre-configured everything to show you what attributes that everything's associated with. But essentially, this is where you're going to go through both brand level, content level, and author level signals in each of these individual tabs. And what you can do is you can rate each item using the different, a couple of different signals, whether it needs work, whether it's fully demonstrated, whether it's missing or not relevant at all. And ultimately, by having this on these different components, you can then create an action plan to improve those weak areas. In fact, once you go through and you update these, what it will do on this last slide is actually provide kind of a scoring ranking to help you assess that as well. So this is just an actionable takeaway, something that you can use on your own as a guide to kind of help you further improve this and hopefully help improve boosting credibility and rankings. To take it one step even further, I have also provided, let me hop back here. Let me talk a little bit about this. So analyzing and improving a website's EAT signals can be very time consuming, especially when done manually. That's why I've gone ahead and built 4 custom GPTs tailored specifically for auto dealers. These tools will help you assess and enhance your site's experience, authority, expertise, and trust in a fraction of the time. Now, how these work, let me kind of talk a little bit about that. Each of these GPTs is designed to evaluate a specific part of your website, following Google Search Quality Rater guidelines and helpful content guidelines. Those are the 2 knowledge-based components that I've used on each of these 4. They analyze key trust signals, they highlight areas that need improvement, and they provide actionable recommendations. So the 4 custom GPTs, we've got the homepage EAT content analyzer. So it'll review your homepage to ensure it demonstrates credibility, industry expertise, and trust signals. We've got an individual blog post or informational page content analyzer. And so this will analyze more information or blog content to ensure it's experience driven, well cited, and meets Google's quality standards. I've also added one for like an inventory or vehicle listing content analyzer. So this will assess vehicle listing pages for transparency, helpful descriptions, and trust elements. And then last but not least, a vehicle detail page EAT content analyzer. So this will analyze individual vehicle detail pages to ensure they contain the right mix of experience, expertise, and clear information for buyers. So the only comment I have on this is that in order to actually leverage and use these, you would, unfortunately, if you don't have one, you would need a paid ChatGPT account to use them. But it's as simple as, and I'll show you a quick example here. It's as simple as entering your URL or copying and pasting the content from your page into that specific GPT that you want analyzed. Now, if you have a page that is heavy in JavaScript, it might be better for you to copy and paste that versus just putting your URL in. Just because sometimes, depending on these platforms, they're not going to actually be able to access and view that information or extract that JavaScript information. But once you enter that information, you're going to get instant feedback. So each GPT will flag strengths, weaknesses, and provide recommendations. You can then implement the fixes, right? So you can use the suggestions to refine your content, improve trust signals, and strengthen SEO. And so ultimately, these tools will help simplify the optimization process. It'll help guide you to enhance your website's credibility and rank higher. So instead of manually auditing each page, you can quickly identify weak areas with kind of AI-powered insights. So I wanted to provide actionable takeaways, regardless of whether you had a paid account or you did not, whether it was a checklist or not. And so I'm just going to quickly walk you through one quick example that I had previously run. I threw in a URL for a homepage of a dealership, and it went through, it scanned the website, and it provided details based off of the criteria and knowledge that I had already fed it. So it'll provide a first impression, user navigation, brand trust. It'll provide context on SEO, CTAs, and then it'll provide suggestions on some of these components. And so you can do this for any of your websites and for leveraging any of those GPTs. So please feel free to use that. Like I said, that will be shared with you in the presentation after this. I will also happily add it in the comments section here. And then if you connect with me on LinkedIn, then I will share it that way as well. So any questions? I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening to me. Now I'm ready to help answer some specific questions for some of you all.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Adam. I'm just blown away by the amount of value you brought. Just the checklist. I'm just thinking right now, just starting my own auto dealership because you just gave me everything.
Well, you know what? I feel like when I'm involved, whether I'm listening to a speaker or I'm on a webinar, I want to make sure that I'm able to not just learn something, but actually have something that I can take with me. And at least that's how I am. I want something to be able to take action from, right? And so that's the purpose of I wanted to kind of provide everybody today.
Yeah, this is wonderful. Obviously, even if you have all the answers, you're going to have to put in all the work. So, yeah, Adam's not just giving us everything, so we can start competing with him directly. So obviously, we have a couple of questions coming in. The first question that I wanted to ask you personally is, does it matter which ChatGPT model you're using when using those prompts, those custom GPTs?
No, it does not matter which one. It's configured for all of them. I'll tell you, I typically use 4.0 just because I feel like that is obviously the most up-to-date, most current version and provides the most detailed responses for me. But you can theoretically use any of them, and you can test each of them. They all is based off of the same knowledge base that we've provided it.
Awesome. Yeah, I can see people in the chat are very excited about you sharing this information. And let's get to the first question that we
Sure.
came in from Christine. So, hey, Adam, what is your stance on using AI in the automotive field? In your experience, does it ultimately help or harm businesses? Very open-ended question, and you already
Yeah.
sort of touched on it, but maybe you have something to add.
Yeah, well, I'm of the mindset. Well, things are changing every single day, every single week as it relates to AI. It's somewhat overwhelming. Um, uh, the my current stance on this is that I don't leverage AI for as it relates. Let's just go with content. I don't leverage AI to create content from scratch and fully use their output as my content. I more leverage it for to help with some of my process flows so that I can be more efficient, that it can give me insights like this content analyzer to help me look at things in a different light that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise seen. So it helps improve my process flow so that I can be more efficient. Um, and obviously sometimes it can provide insights that you otherwise wouldn't know just based off of, sometimes if you're in it every day on the same website every day, you're not going to see the same thing as maybe a different, fresh perspective. And so that's where AI can kind of help from that standpoint too. I do leverage AI to kind of help do some of my assessment when it comes to maybe analyzing who are the top ranking sites, maybe to help me build out theoretically content briefs, or what are the most common questions that people ask related to a particular topic. But then once I have that brief or information built out, I don't leverage AI to actually write the content for me, if that makes sense.
Do you combine by any chance AI tools with SEO tools to pull the data, or how do you know that how are you sure that it knows the exact figures like a search volume of a keyword or stuff like that? Is this
Perfect.
something
Great
that you
example. Great example. I don't leverage it for search volume. Like I don't leverage it for elements like that. Um, if I were to provide it, what I would do is I would use a third party system like ranking to then gather keyword research. So like, let's say I'm going through my keyword research process. I might leverage it to help me create a topical map or help me take all of the keywords and cluster them. And I know SE Ranking has their own clustering tool as well. But those are the ways that I would leverage it. I'd actually feed it the information that I want to give it, and then let them do some of the hard work around some of those aspects versus just solely saying, "Hey, how should I optimize this page around?" I don't let it do that type of research. I still think a particularly someone that has experience in SEO, your own expertise is better than leveraging AI from that standpoint. So I'm
appreciate your
leveraging other tools, Google Search Console, whatever it might be.
Appreciate your answer, Adam. Another question we have from Greg. How do I balance creating hyper-local content with broader authority-building content that satisfies Google's WEAT signals and appeals to both local customers and a wider national audience?
Yeah, great question. So when a lot of the so when it comes to localized, right? Like when a lot of the examples that I provided today, I think can be applied to both local or from a national perspective, right? Um, First and foremost, you have to kind of understand who your target audience is. So when we're talking about your particular dealership, are most of your audience coming from a specific local geographic region, or are they coming from all over? Because that might change your strategy, your thought process a little bit. Um, Ultimately, the same principles are aligned, right? If it is a local business, you do identify that most of your business comes from a local geographic region. You're going to want to lean a little bit more into kind of more localized content. leveraging kind of the customer insights and customer reviews, things like that with inside of your content. When you think about kind of the wider national audience, I mean, think about it like this: like if you're optimizing a particular around a particular topic, even if it is a localized business, um, the same questions that a user would have on a local level, they're probably going to have on a national level, right? So those principles are going to still align. You want to make sure that your content helps answer those questions, so that you can be that resource regardless of whatever that is. But ultimately, it comes down to understanding who your target audience is and aligning your content with that.
Yeah, if you have a follow-up, Greg, you're welcome to throw it into the chat. Thank you for the answer, Adam. We have another question from Marisol. How much do site speed, security, and structured data impact EAT? What key factors should I watch out for? And how can I proactively optimize them to improve the user experience and strengthen trust signals for Google?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess again, EAT by itself is not an individualized ranking factor, right? Um, and so I want to make sure that that's kind of clear. However, when you think about site speed, security, and I mentioned security several times within this process too. Site speed, it provides a better user experience. And so because it provides a better user experience, same with security, right? Then it's innately going to make your website more trusted. And so from that standpoint, there's an alignment there. And so it does impact. It's almost impossible to answer to say, hey, how much does it impact? They all are elements that all apply to it. So I wouldn't necessarily say that they ultimately you would need to do them all, right? It's just how do you prioritize which one first, right? And so first and foremost, you want to think about your users. So if they're coming to a website, it's not secure. That would be something that I would want to focus on almost immediately. There's plenty of data that also justifies that site speed, and just think about it from your own perspective, site speed impacts conversions. So the likelihood that someone comes to your website, ultimately takes an action on filling out a form, picking up the phone, whatever it might be, lessens greatly if you have a slow loading page. Again, think about it from your own perspective. If you went looking for something and it took forever for pages to load, you'd probably back out and go to the next site. Now, the structured data component is important in the sense that when we're talking about, for example, the informational content, right? Where I think we referenced several times within our presentation, showing that expertise side of things, right? So having authorship. So that's where you're going to want to have ideally authorship structured data on those particular pages. Who wrote this article? Why should I trust them? That all would not only be within the page itself, but also within the structured data associated with that. So hopefully that helped.
What about the proactive part of this? So, for example, you have a website, you checked it. If it's a client's website, you checked it, you fixed it, everything's great. Like, and this moment in time, specifically in this second, it's great. How do I make sure that it's not going to get broken with the next update, or yes, something rolls out from Google and it changes, it breaks my site? Is there a proactive approach to this, or do you just work once the fire starts, you just go and start putting it out?
Well, I mean, here's the thing: speed, security, and structured data. Those are all elements of a site that realistically aren't going to change unless you've purposely made you like on site speed. I guess it is possible if you add a bunch of videos or really large images. But outside of that, security, structured data, once you've implemented them, they're on those particular pages, they're on those particular sites, right? So There's nothing to necessarily proactively optimize around that, except, I mean, speed. Obviously, you can continuously optimizing that to try to make it to improve it further and further and further. But what I would kind of leverage from a proactivity standpoint, from a UX and trust component, would be leverage third-party tool. One of the ones that I love to look at, so there's two that I like to reference. Obviously, Google Analytics is obviously helpful to kind of see metrics of how people are converting on the site, how much time, so on and so forth. But one of the tools I really love to use, and it's completely free, is Microsoft Clarity. If you don't use it, definitely recommend going and signing up, adding it to your website. It does heat mapping, user recordings. It gives you so much details that you wouldn't otherwise get to know how people are interacting with the site from a UX perspective, so that then you can kind of evaluate and see what areas of the site maybe are causing friction. It'll tell you where there are rage clicks or people are bouncing. And so those are things that you can use to proactively, continuously optimize your site to then improve trust signals.
Fantastic, Adam. Another question we have from David. How can I overcome duplicate content issues, especially when I'm stuck using manufacturer provided descriptions, so that each vehicle page is unique and doesn't get penalized by Google?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I kind of touched on it a little bit before. I know that's a common issue in relation to dealership type websites for sure. And so what you really want to do is, I mean, you have to use what they provide you. And I know oftentimes that is a requirement. So what you have to do is supplement that with additional information, additional content. Just having certain blocks that a lot of these other people have is not going to get you penalized. It's not a, and first off, it's not necessarily a penalty. It just, for example, you're not going to get a notification in Google Search Console or anything from that standpoint as it relates to duplicate content. But what you want to do is maybe add some of that firsthand experience on some of those pages. So maybe you're referencing, you're pulling in customer reviews as it's associated with that particular vehicle. What are some of your customers saying about that vehicle? Maybe having one of your service advisors or main salespeople actually going through and doing a review of this particular vehicle. Maybe you're adding FAQs with your own unique content. You're supplementing that page or that information with additional unique information that's relevant to you and your business, that's from your own perspective, to overcome that obstacle, so that it's not, the whole page isn't just manufacturer information.
Yeah, great advice. Thank you, Adam. And we have another question, and I just want to remind our audience that if you have anything to ask Adam, this is a great opportunity, because this is the last question that we have right now in the chat. So it's from Amanda. Could you share some examples of how I can successfully integrate firsthand customer testimonials or case studies into the digital strategy?
Yeah, I'm assuming when you say digital strategy, like the big picture. I mean, so I don't have any examples obviously in front of me, but obviously, first and foremost, I mean, the way I would reference this is, do you currently have a process in place as it relates to customer testimonials? Do you currently have a process in place? And this is where I think most businesses, they want to add it to the site, but they don't have a process in place to gather them first. And so think about how your customers interact with this particular business, right? How can I gather feedback from them at the time of, if it's a dealership, as soon as they purchase the vehicle, right? Maybe you have some type of automated, and there's plenty of software out that does this, that you do some automated text messaging that tells them, how excited you are for them, and please leave a review by XYZ, right? You're hitting them at that point where they're excited. They just finished working with you. This is the time you really hit them up so that you can ensure that you're getting that testimonial, right? And so you have to have that process in place first. And then as you get more of that, then you can then leverage that in a lot of different ways. You can leverage that through not only by displaying customer testimonials to help build that trust signal, but one of the things I love to do is actually taking customer testimonials and actually leveraging that as some of my headlines. So if someone has said something great about me or my dealership, guess what? It's not just me saying about me, it's someone else specifically said that about me. And I leverage that as headlines. And this is a great use case of AI or chat GPT, even the free models, where you can take customer testimonials and you can feed that into chat GPT or Claude or whoever else that you're using, and ask for creative ways to leverage these testimonials into your website. And so those are some ways that I would kind of leverage that.
Great advice, Adam. I personally have a question. Could you maybe paint a picture of two different scenarios of how you can become? I realize that this is the topic of our whole webinar, become an expert. But like with regard to the expertise part from the WEAT, how what is like I don't know. Maybe I can, for example, I don't know if I do something like study a language. I have a diploma, a master's diploma in this language. I can put it up somewhere, and that proves that I'm an expert. What about car auto? What about like auto dealerships? Is there some way that you can just instantaneously prove that you're an expert, or do you have to go through this process of every day showing up, writing stuff, showing that you really know what you're talking about? So I would just like for you to address these two scenarios. Like, for example, you really are an expert and you just decided to go online at this moment, and
Yeah.
you're not an expert, you want to become one. How much work does it need to go into it? Maybe you can talk about your experience. Just I'd be happy to know about this.
Yeah. Um, if you are an expert, right? An expert, the term expert, and some of this is subjectiveness, right? So our job is to help validate and prove why I am an expert to Google and their algorithms, right? So if you are someone that has been, let's just say, a service advisor for 20 years, right? Well, guess what? Let's add that individual to your website. Let's talk about their background, their bio, right? What have they done? What this is, talk about their history. Maybe they haven't always been at your dealership. Maybe they've been at other places. Most service advisors, I'm fairly certain, go through certifications. They have to get tested. They have to go through different things to be validated, right? So referencing those. Um, if they are uh, active, like on social profiles, linking to those social profiles where they're talking about some of those things relevant to their expertise, linking to their LinkedIn profile that again validates that they are. If they've ever been mentioned on any other websites or in the press or anything associated with that, that all lives in this bio in theory, right? And they're all relevant sources to help you link back to kind of validate your space. Now, ultimately, it's a good and a bad thing, right? Where it's one thing to have 20 years experience, but there's another piece of this whole spectrum too. It's Google does have recency bias, right? So just because I have past history, but they also want to see, well, what are you doing now around that? So that's where even if you have that past experience, at least you have that to kind of lean off of, and you can kind of build out that bio, linking out to those credible resources, making sure that your structured data references all of those components. But then you also have to be active, right? You have to ideally post on social, ideally reference, be mentioned in other sources, or try to be show up in other sources that might be referencing you. So there's a lot of there's two aspects to it. It's validating that what you are, and then ultimately building yourself up to it. Almost anybody in some capacity here has gone through some training, some validation, some certification at some point in their career, I would almost imagine. So reference that, right? Then obviously continue working towards it.
Yeah, thank you. I realized that I just asked you to basically summarize the entire webinar in a like a sound bite answer. I appreciate you doing this. All right, so if we don't have any other questions from the chat, well, let's do the outro slides. And I also want to remind everybody to reach out to Adam if you have any questions. He has left his slides with the social media handles and the way you can reach him. So what I wanted to say is that if you are new to SEO ranking, you're welcome to try our expanded free trial, where you have a lot more access to our tools. And you can see, like I mentioned, there are over 30 tools for all sorts of different tasks in digital marketing. So be sure to scan that QR code. I also want to say that if you are going to be using your business email when registering for the free trial, you're going to get even more benefits. And if you let us know who you are, that will help us help you learn SEO ranking, master SEO, and stuff like that. So we are looking forward to you checking that out. We also have a community that you can join and have discussions about SEO ranking. We have different questions in there, giveaways. You can also chat with your peers, solve common issues together. So be sure to scan that. And if you are subscribed to SEO Ranking, you already have free access to our academy, where we have a growing list of library of courses, including courses that help you learn how to use SEO Ranking and master content, SEO basics, so everything you can see up on the screen. Plus, it's a growing library, so new courses are coming this year. We have a course about AI and SEO in the pipeline, so we're excited about working on that. And if you're on a commute regularly, or you like walking the dog, or just have time to listen to something, we have a podcast where we sit down with experts on various topics with regard to digital marketing and SEO, and just discuss what the situation is in a podcast format. So it's a conversation. And last but not least, we're doing a lot of stuff on social. We have a lot of videos up on YouTube with how-to videos, webinars, workshops. So everything is in there. You're welcome to reach out to us anywhere on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and YouTube. So be sure to do that. And I wanted to bring up Adam's slide one more time, just to show the, what do you call, your social media.
Oh, yeah.
Just to remind people. Obviously, this is something recorded. People can rewind and watch it there. But I just like to close off by, because you just did such a great job and just shared so much value. I'm just very excited for people who are indeed working on their auto dealerships to reach out to you, to have just to help each other out in this digital market. And let me see. I think that was it for our slides. And I want to thank everybody for joining. I want to thank Adam one more time for taking the time to be here. And I'm wishing higher visibility to get even more awards, and to looking forward to talking to you in the future, maybe in a podcast or a different format. Once again, thank you, and have a great day, Adam. And
thank
everybody
you.
else.
Appreciate your time.
All right. Take care.